All right. Hi, everybody. It's our CFB Talk 69. We're going to have a nice conversation with Stephen Garcia, and I'm going to let my co hosts do that introduction. We're going to have our regular team here of myself, Bob Akhayeri, along with co hosts JD Moore and Sirius. And we're going to be joined by Stephen Garcia. So we're going to go ahead and set up right now, as we normally do. All right. JD, how are you doing?
Man, I am excited for this upcoming space. Steven Garcia is one of those legendary quarterbacks that you know him, you love him from his days as South Carolina's quarterback. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. We're going to talk about the Gamecocks, of course, on our CFB Talk 69. That definitely was pretty intentional with our guest for tonight, and I'm very, very excited to be talking with him this evening.
All right. It looks like our guest is up here. Stephen, thanks for joining us. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well, man. Me and my fiance just left dinner and doing this, trying to figure out how the Clemson's going to score some points.
Hey, listen, man, if anything else, we appreciate you coming on for some anti-Clemson programming. Again, there was nothing incidental about tonight's show. I'm really excited to have one of the greatest gunslingers from the Stephen Spurrier Gamecocks coming on board. Of course, you're one of the few guys who has ever beaten a Nick Saban Alabama team. When it comes to South Carolina, there are few people who represented better than you have over the years, and I'm sure that you are really excited after Shane Beamer got his first win of the season this last weekend over the Georgia State Panthers.
Yeah, man, that was exciting to see. I was hoping for a little bit more fireworks, but obviously I've been texting you guys back and forth, and I guess at least they figured out how to cover, so that's good. Now we just need Clemson to cover.
Absolutely. But hey, man, with this first game of the season, Shane Beamer still being a relatively new head coach. This is his second full year as a head coach and obviously second year at South Carolina. What have been your first impressions of Shane Beamer as the head coach of the Gamecocks so far?
I mean, he was there when he was actually the recruiting coordinator and the defensive backs coach when I was playing out there. So I got a history with him, and I remember reaching out to him when he was even being considered for the head coaching job a couple of years back. So I was just kind of just doing my part, and he's like, it'd go a long way if you would tweet out and just kind of show your support for me. So of course I did, and I think he kind of embodies the South Carolina way. I mean, it's actually wild. He never changed his cell phone number. He still has an 803 area code on his cell phone. So I mean, it's kind of wild. I mean, I know that he loved it in Columbia, and I think it shows. I think he shows the passion that, you want in a head coach at a university. He brings that excitement level. I mean, you saw him in the game the other night, hopping around when they had 2 block punts. I mean, that's as they say, that's Beamer ball. So I know I'm excited. I think the whole South Carolina fan base is excited. Our offense kind of sputtered a little bit, but, for the most part, it's game one. And Georgia State is not some, slapdick operation. Coach Elliott's got those guys kind of fired around. So, it was good to get that win.
What do you think about that Mayo dunk that ended last season? Was that something you thought was fun, or were you kind of pro Mayo or anti Mayo?
That was definitely a weird deal. And did he go on concussion protocol or no?
Yeah, oh my gosh, they hit him. I forgot.
Yeah, he kind of got whacked on there a little bit. But yeah, I'm not a huge Mayo guy. But you know what? They won the bowl game, so that's all that matters.
So after building off on that bowl win, though, what have you seen, at least, I know it's still early, at least in this season, in this first game, have you noticed any kind of difference in mentality or toughness with the team than you did from last year? Because, you more than anybody else can read body language of these players when they're on the bench or they're on a play and they're not necessarily getting the ball. Are you noticing any kind of difference with that, at least in your impressions from this first game?
I think so, and I think listen. I actually enjoyed Coach Muschamp. I didn't play for him, but he was, he opened up his arms to all the alumni and me, and I got a chance to talk to him all the time, and I actually loved him. I don't know if I would have been able to play for him, so to speak. That military style type coaching, I don't think would suit me very well. That being said, you can tell the difference in the locker room and in the games and practice. It looks like these guys right now with Coach Beamer it looks like they're having fun. And that's something that, you want to see these guys having. You can't make this. I know it is with the NIL and everything else and how much money these coaches are getting paid and everything else. It isn't, but at the end of the day, it is a football game. And it just looks like Coach Beamer is bringing around that energy and that excitement level. And, guys had to be out there on, on the games, obviously, and, cheering on their team is something you got to have.
Talking about the team and the roster, what did you think about Spencer Rattler's first outing as a Gamecock this weekend?
It was all right. I was on a podcast earlier today, and people were asking me throughout the last couple of days, what I thought about him. And the guy's got an electric arm there. I mean, nobody with a brain will disagree with you on that. I do feel like I know the offensive line caught a lot of flack plays where I feel like Spencer could have stayed in there and made a couple throws downfield, but I think he kind of saw the pressure rather than feeling it and kind of hauled ass out of the pocket. So I feel like he can definitely improve in that aspect. Again, first game jitters. After kind of having his confidence rocked a little bit last year. But yeah, I mean, I think he played well. I think he's obviously the leader of this team. And I think the sky's the limit. I think they just need to shore up some of the. They're definitely going to need to play well these next few weeks with Arkansas and Georgia coming to town.
Absolutely, and we got most of that. I think you're driving right now, and that's totally fine. I know you're leaving dinner, so we got just a couple of little blank spots there, but we totally got where you're going with that. What are your thoughts right now on NIL? Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm literally getting ready to pull into my house, so it'll be a lot more clear.
So what are your thoughts of the NIL thing? Obviously, what it was like before. What are your thoughts on it now, and how could it? I mean, are you happy with it now? Would you like them to change it more, or in one direction or another? What are your thoughts?
Personally, I wish that I was born a little bit later, so that I could reap some of those benefits. That these guys are getting. I mean, these guys are getting paid so much. It's wild, especially the guys from high school that haven't even played a snap of college football are getting paid and getting offered millions of dollars. I'm happy for them, but at the same time, there's some that you got to be able to prove yourself. And I don't know if these guys are proving themselves that much. And I don't know. At the end of the day, man, I'm happy that these guys are finally getting paid legally, so to speak.
Well, now, when you say legally, are you implying that there are maybe some other illegal things? I don't know if the statute of limitations necessarily have expired, but if you've got some stories, man, we would love to hear them.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt. And I as far as statute of limitations, I couldn't care less. My playing days are way behind me. That being said, I mean, yeah, I think every single program, every single program had guys getting paid somehow under the table, or their parents getting paid for, something they were doing. I don't know the logistics, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, so I'll leave it at that. But you can bet your ass people were definitely getting paid.
If you go ahead and you end up, if you were to be a recruit in this fashion, if you were be able to be born later, like you said, and you were able to pursue some type of NIL deal, when you think back on what you were like in college, what would be your dream NIL deal if you could go back and say, when you were in college, this is the kind of partnership that I would have wanted?
Probably Anheuser-Busch. They have deep pockets, so I think that'd be a good combination.
No need to stoop down and settle for Natty at that point, right?
Exactly.
Open the purse strings and hand it over to just pay me in cases of Bud.
No, I would have preferred cold hard cash for sure, but yeah, man, I mean, there's so many different objects or so many different companies that I would have been able to, kind of deal with. I mean, truth be told, I got a couple people that are doing some NIL, so to speak, NIL deals right now. A couple companies that have reached out to me to doing some like commercials and some other stuff. So, I mean, I guess it all comes around, but I mean, I think I would have been a lot more valuable, when I was playing 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
When you mentioned that these, organizations are now reaching out to you now, where do you feel as an alumni, you kind of have that special connection as not necessarily a booster, but as somebody who can definitely support the program in ways that the average fan can't? What have been some of the opportunities that you've been able to support South Carolina since you've been able to be that kind of very special alum?
Not a whole lot, to be completely honest with you. I've done a few things that, kind of insignificant. Like I said, I don't want to say I helped Coach Beamer get, hired. I don't feel like I did that much. Just sent out a couple tweets and, talked to a couple other teammates that would fire up a few tweets. So, I mean, maybe that's my biggest contribution to the to the university since I got done playing. Obviously, the way that my playing career ended, I didn't want anything to do with the University of South Carolina. I was pissed off like hell. And I was blaming everybody else instead of myself, and that's just kind of me being an idiot. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I definitely can help contribute a little bit more, as I'm a little bit more mature, so to speak. Kind of help with, recruiting, getting some local talent from the Tampa Bay area because we are loaded with talent, as the nation knows. So just kind of helping out some of these guys, kind of lean towards going to be a Gamecock as opposed to going to Oklahoma or, Clemson or anywhere else.
Steven, speaking about your tenure at South Carolina, going back to that 2010 season, we won't talk about 2011, but during that 2010 season, you had the kind of a unique honor, I guess, of being able to face that Auburn team twice, and specifically Nick Fairley and that Auburn defense, which was pretty nasty, had a pretty rough reputation that year. Can you tell us a little bit like what that was like getting to having to game prep for them twice in the same season?
What's your policy on language here? Am I allowed to cuss or not that much?
Go for it.
You're a special guest. This is the 69th show. Everybody knows what they're getting into on this one.
Well, yeah, man. Having to play those guys fucking sucked, just to be completely honest. Yeah, they had Cam Newton. I mean, the guy was a machine. And the guys from Auburn on those defensive lines, especially with Nick Fairley. I mean, I wouldn't say they played exactly nice and fair. I mean, I remember being at the bottom of a pile and I'm getting pinched, I'm getting spit on, I'm getting my freaking nuts grabbed and everything. I mean, it was ugly down there. And I can assure you that other players from around the entire country can admit to the same thing. I mean, when you're in that pile, it is the last place on planet Earth you want to be. So it definitely sucked. But I think we had a chance to beat them that first time over in Auburn. I remember Coach Spurrier pulling me out after I fumbled that second time and then put Connor in. And, I was playing well up to that point. But yeah, that kind of sucked. And then, obviously playing the SEC championship game, again, when he threw that Hail Mary at the end of the first half they go up 2 scores. I think that was kind of the dagger in the heart.
Back in the days of playing in the SEC, what was your favorite place to travel to? Obviously, Williams-Brice is going to be always a favorite of South Carolina whenever you're playing. But when you were going on the road, was there any environment that you're like, this is a really cool environment, I'm glad I get to play here?
Let me see if my fiance is here. Yeah, she's here. No, I tell you what, and I can see that my buddy Andrew Clifford, and an old roommate, is listening in, so he's gonna laugh at this. Playing in Lexington against Kentucky was really awesome because I remember warming up and looking over and seeing the dancers, and it was a good thing that I had a girdle on because they were fun to look at. That Ole Miss was the same thing, very awesome to look at while warming up.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. I'm just curious of these new teams that are coming in the SEC. Were there any, there've been new ones, and obviously got Texas, Oklahoma coming. Are any of those places you would have been looking forward to playing had they been there when you were out there?
Oh, I think Texas would have been awesome to play at. Obviously they got a massive tradition. They got I don't even know if they're still doing the Longhorn Network, but I mean that was before the SEC Network. That was a huge deal. So yeah, I mean, I think that would have been really cool to play at.
So when you actually look at the way that you get to play in Williams-Brice, because obviously that stadium is always going to be the closest one next to y'all in your hearts. But when you look at those traditions, we had Shane Beamer on the show not too terribly long ago, and he was telling us that, some of his favorite traditions in that stadium were some of the reasons why he wanted to come back. When you were a player, and even still to this day, what have been your favorite traditions that happen at Williams-Brice as a Gamecock?
Oh man, I mean, I think Sandstorm, the birth, was against Ole Miss when they were number 4. That Thursday night game, that I would say that was probably my favorite tradition as far as being a player goes. Yeah, that electricity throughout the stadium when that song goes on was absolutely bonkers, and it was intense.
What kind of factor did you have when you would have that type of fan base rooting behind you? Because again, everything is always going to be bigger in the SEC, but in South Carolina, I don't think people really understand the massive kind of crowd that you get, regardless of whether it's 100 degrees out with 100% humidity. You're always going to get that kind of huge fan base rallying around you as well.
Oh, absolutely, and they can also not rally against you. I can assure you of that. There was plenty of times where there was a lot of boos and a lot of, "fuck you, Garcia" type of chants going on. So it's not it's not it's not always sunshine and rainbows when you're playing in front of the home crowd. But for the most part, man, they are one of the most passionate fan base. And I know a lot of players say this, a lot of people, a lot of fans say this. They are one of the most passionate fan bases that I've heard. I've been around. I mean, anywhere in the entire country, and it's that's why I never left. I had plenty of opportunities to transfer after each one of my 5 suspensions. And I just wanted to stay there. I believed in what Coach Spurrier was building. I believed in our locker room. And as I told Coach Spurrier, I was like, look, man, if you want to kick me out of here, that's fine. You want me to transfer, that's fine. But you're gonna have to make that decision, because I came here to play for you. I came here to play for this university. I love Columbia. I want to be here. I want to, be with my teammates, and I'm staying here. I'm locked in.
You've been on the receiving end of an awful lot of trash talk from fans, from opposing players. What are some of your favorites that you heard directed at you over the years?
Oh, man. I think my favorite one to this day, and I tell people this all the time, was playing against Alabama in 2009 in Tuscaloosa. And I remember I'm sitting there warming up, and, we got these stupid ass frat kids wearing bow ties, and it's 195 degrees outside. And I'm sitting there warming up and like, hey, Garcia, why don't you take your fucking ass on back to Mexico? And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking Cuban. Fuck you.
Oh, my God.
I can't really tell you what else I said, but, because I might get canceled. But, yeah, I said some other words that were cancelable as of now.
Yeah, you got to be proud of that, your own heritage, man. So I got a question. Where's your favorite place? Do you eat Cuban food often? What are some of your favorite places, and what's your favorite dish?
Oh, man, the Cuban sandwich is hands down the best of the best. There's ropa villa. I mean, there's plenty of things that that the Cuban people can cook up. So I tend to eat it all, especially when we have a bunch of family in town.
Stephen, looking around the country at the different quarterbacks that we've seen play the past year, this year, is there one that really you see him play and you think, man, that reminds me of how I played back in the day in terms of style, mentality, attitude when you look at these games?
Can you guys hear me better right now? I just put in these headphones. Does this sound any better?
Hey, you're sounding great, my friend.
Okay, awesome. I haven't really seen a whole lot of these SEC guys as of right now, because it seems like every single quarterback is a different face this year as opposed to last year. But I will say, after watching that Utah versus Florida game, the guy from Utah actually kind of reminded me. I don't know if it's because the hair and the beard combination, but he was in there, and I saw him talking shit to a bunch of the Gator players. He was putting his head down and diving around. Obviously the interception at the end was not ideal, but yeah, to answer your question, I feel like that's probably the most look-alike, so to speak, that I could think of right now.
Well, you picked a great one, because Cam Rising, Utah's quarterback, his team nickname apparently is Thick Boy with 2 C's.
That's hilarious.
It seems like a nickname that you would appreciate.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. The kid can play. I was kind of hoping that they were going to end up winning that game, but yeah, I mean, I think that kid could play pretty well.
Stephen, we've kind of talked a little bit earlier about NIL deals and some of the ways that the game has changed since you had last played. When we were talking about, if you could have been born a little later and gone through the recruiting process again, what would you think would be something different that you would do as a recruit in 2022 as you would when you were being recruited in the late 2000s?
Oh, man, that's a great question. Social media, I mean, I think only Facebook was around back then. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge deal. But right now, in this day and age, and, I help, a bunch of these parents of these kids that I'm training now, and that, pretty much all over the country, it's like get your Instagram, get your Twitter, and you just got to be super smart. You can't talk the way that I'm talking on Twitter and Instagram. You can't talk shit to people right now. You just got to be like kind of ultra football all the time, and you got to build your brand up. That's kind of what this whole NIL thing is. You want to build your followers up. You want to build, your specific brand, and at the end of the day, that's how you're going to get paid. So, it's crazy to say you're getting paid for your followers instead of getting paid for, what you're doing on the field. But then you do have the exceptions. You got these 5-star guys that are going to Miami, going to Tennessee that are getting paid, $10 million. They haven't even taken a snap of college football, but yet they're, getting paid that much money. It's freaking nuts to me just thinking about it out loud right now. But, at the end of the day, good for them, man. It's instead of these universities and these coaches and everybody else getting all the money, I mean, why not give it to some of the players? I mean, at the end of the day, they do deserve it.
So does that mean that if you were a recruit today or a college quarterback, we would not see a Steven Garcia OnlyFans account?
Probably not. No, I don't think you would.
Steven, you had mentioned some of the training that you're doing with some of these young guys now. I would love to hear a little bit more about what you are doing with that type of training today. I mean, are these predominantly high school guys that you're working with on mechanics, on branding, on getting into college scholarships? What's kind of the work that you're doing with these quarterbacks for the future?
So, I mean, it varies anywhere from, I got a couple of kids that are 6 years old and, I got a couple NFL guys, a couple CFL guys, and all the way, with college. Sorry, I just dropped something. With high school and then, throughout college. So, but yeah, it's obviously with the younger guys, you want to kind of start from the ground up and you want to do the mechanical stuff. When they get to the high school level, if they don't have that right mechanical / fundamentals and they throw a wounded quail every single time they throw a ball, it's kind of like, hey man, you might need to change positions or think of another sport or get really good at math or something. You just got to kind of be brutally honest with some of these people. And, truth be told, I've lost a couple people because I tell them that. And, the parents don't like sometimes how I cuss too much. But it's like, if you want your kid to be playing football, long term, if you want them to be playing in college football, these coaches are not going to talk gently to you. They're going to rip your ass and embarrass you and curse at you and everything else. So you got to prepare for that. So that's what I'm here for. At the end of the day, I want you to go to school for free. I want you to get paid to play football. That is the ultimate goal. That's why the hell you're out here. That's why you're paying me this much money to train you. So to answer your question, man, yeah, I kind of do a lot of everything. I'm always on my cell phone. I always, phone call away from these parents. It's actually hilarious. One of the moms called me today from a local kid at Plant High School and was like, hey, my son is getting ready to play his JV game and he's kind of nervous. Can you please give him a call and, just kind of calm him down and tell him, just kind of give him some words of encouragement and, I'll Venmo you right now. I was like, sure. I mean, I'll take your Venmo, but I don't need it. That's not what you're paying me to do, but sure. Yeah. Here's my Venmo. Go ahead and throw it at me. But, like I said, I got my phone on me all the time and, that's what I'm here for.
We've seen a lot of offensive development since you were in college in terms of, the schemes that quarterbacks are running, even the schemes that we're seeing in the NFL with, some more air raid type concepts, making it up to that level and some success in the NFL with it. Has that affected, what you're teaching these younger kids and trying to find, develop a skill set that works with what colleges are going to want to use, but also with what their physical abilities are?
Absolutely. 100%. That is a great question. Great point. Yeah, I mean, I was this, typical guy with the, I'm right-handed. So I would always, from Coach Spurrier's view, it's I'm right foot forward, left foot kindly, tilted back. And, I'm taking a nice typical 3-step drop. Those days are over. I think, with Aaron Rodgers and you got these other guys, that are taking these kind of Patrick Mahomes, that are taking these kind of weird ass drops and throwing it off platform. They're throwing it sidearm. It almost looks like they're throwing underhand sometimes. You just got to be able to do that in this day and age. The age of the 6'5", 240-pound quarterback that just stands back there like a statue, I think is dead. I don't see that, ever being another, I just don't see another Tom Brady being in the league again. I mean, you even got guys like Josh Allen who fit that big quarterback mold. That guy can run I don't know what he runs, but it looks like he can run a 4.5, and he's mobile. He's moving in the pocket. He's not just standing still, delivering the football downfield. So that's a great question. I've definitely adapted my my training techniques and philosophies over the last 2 years.
So, with that in mind, I know that you speak to these parents all the time on what their kid needs to do to get into college. But if you have a kid who is trying to get into high school ball, what's the stuff that you advise those parents on? Of, hey, if you want your kid to be end up starting in high school, this is what they got to be doing with middle school, with sixth grade ball. What are you kind of telling them in that phase of life?
Well, you're kind of it's wild because I literally just talked to four parents today. We had a workout this morning. Talked to four parents today. I was like, hey, you got to get your kid on Instagram. You got to get him on Twitter. And I don't care if you have to manage his account. I mean, that's fine. I mean, give me his password. I'll manage it for him. Obviously, I won't be tweeting anything crazy from his account, but you got like it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You want to have these kids have the following base. You want to have them have the videos because you want to have them have a good little account to build their brand. Because as of right now, with the NIL has changed everything. You want to build your personal brand to kind of help you go from a lower level guy to a mid level guy to a higher level guy, and that's just it sounds extremely selfish, but at the end of the day, that's what you kind of got to do right now. So yeah, I talked to four parents literally today, and I said, you need to create an Instagram account, create a Twitter account, and make it strictly football. Don't do anything else about it.
So, Stephen, we know we want to respect your time. You've been with us for about 30 minutes now. Where your fans and people who listen to this, where can they find you if they want to find out what you're up to?
Well, they can, if they're ever in Tampa area, they can come to Lutz. They can come by and have a cold beer anytime they want. But for the most part, man, it's on Twitter and Instagram, and I actually just recently did a freaking TikTok. I hate that freaking application like hell, but I did it anyways, and I did that Florida Gators thing with the Short Bus Shorty song, and it actually blew up. I think it has like 1.5 million views on it so far, so I guess that's kind of cool. But yeah, I'm pretty active on Instagram and Twitter.
So funny. We've been talking about whether or not we got to do TikTok ourselves, and we're like, are we going to chase the youths or not the youths? That's what Florida did the other day. But we're gonna do we chase the youth?
Yeah,
And look
no.
really clunky doing it. I'm sure yours was excellent, though. Don't get me wrong. You got the right attitude. You're forever young, man. I mean, really. Yeah,
But it's
you can pull.
yeah, it's just I hate that app like hell. But I feel like that's what everybody's on now. So I said, why not? So I do like some of these TikToks, and a bunch of guys like tag me in some of their like training videos, so I'll repost it and stuff like that. But I don't think many college scouts at all are looking at that kind of stuff. But who knows?
Hey man,
Yeah.
if you're old enough to remember Colt Brennan slinging ball, I mean
Oh
that's
yeah.
just a sign that you are too old to be on that application.
Then yeah, I guess I'm too old. But yeah, man, I do remember old Colt. R.I.P. man.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you taking time to join us now. And I guess they're going on halftime over in Atlanta right now. But it was great. Thank you for joining us, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It was a blast. Anytime, let me know.
Absolutely. All right. Well, just want to take a second to thank all of you for listening. This was RCFB Talk 69. We're joined by Stephen Garcia. On behalf of myself, Bob Akayeri, on behalf of JD and Sirius, thanks to you all for joining us. I hope you all have a great Labor Day, a good evening tonight, and we'll talk to you all later. Now, I'm hang up and listen.